good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming here. Maybe the sun might come out, so you brought maybe the sunshine with you. So, that's nice to know. And welcome to the people on Zoom. For me, there's absolutely no difference if anybody is there. There's one group of people, wherever you are. It is all one nice gathering. So, today happens to be in traditional Christianity, traditional Western Christianity, to correct myself, the feast of Christ the King. So we've got a church here opposite that is named after that feast. And what inspired this service is not that, it's on the 25th of November, 2 days later, it is International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. So this is something which, is still an issue and needs to go away. We cannot have women being victims of violence, or anyone, but in particular women. And it is also, again, traditionally St. Catherine's Day, who also suffered in the hands of men because she dared be a scientist and she dared be many other things. Okay, and the following day, the 26th, I will please now Delphine, is World Sustainable Transport Day. So here's the little green message from this podium. Can we use eco-friendly ways to travel around, including something like a train that is going to go anyway, so we might catch that as opposed to driving a car, if we can. Cycling, which I know Delphine and I like, and many others, and anything, obviously sustainable. So, the music you've just heard, it was by Edgar, Elegy for Strings, work number 58. And I hope this has brought you into the spirit of this service. We welcome everyone, irrespective of backgrounds, whether they have a faith or not, or many faiths, or belief systems, or religions, or none. Everyone is welcome. And I hope you feel welcome today as much as you always do. And we start with lighting the chalice. I will invite Linda to do the honors, and as she's doing that, I will be reading a prayer and then another one after it. So you carry on, and I do as well. We kindle this chalice flame because there is darkness. In our world, the shadows of injustice, oppression, hunger, and pain fill too many lives with gloom. We light this small flame not because it will vanquish all darkness, but because it is a start. Because rather than condemn the dark, we have chosen to bring light. And now a prayer after this lovely deed. The illumination of a candle is a sign of human mastery, a reflection of our power to create, to control, and to destroy. May this be a flame of humility, that we may be aware of our recklessness. May it be a flame of compassion, encouraging us to bring light into darkness and spread warmth where cold prevails. And may it be a flame of connection, that we may recognize the great human family of which we are part. And it's now time to sing, to warm us up. So it's hymn 194, We Light the Flame, which we have just done. So I invite you, of course, to stand in body or in spirit on both. And we're ready to sing 194, We Light the Flame. The words will appear on the screen. and we proceed with a few quotes that are relevant to the title of the service. First one by Virginia Woolf. For most of history, Anonymous was a woman. Brigham Young. You educate a man, you educate a man. You educate a woman, you educate a generation. And Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. There is a stubbornness about me that never can bear to be frightened at the will of others. My courage always rises at every attempt to intimidate me. And Orson Scott Card, The Folk of the Fringe. It's called civilization. Women invented it. And every time you men blow it all to bits, we just invent it again. And a last one by Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love. Yet, what keeps me from dissolving right now into a complete fairy tale shimmer is this solid truth, a truth which has veritably built my bones over the last few years. I was not rescued by a prince. I was the administrator of my own rescue. So, we come now to a short story, which I hope you're going to like. It's not only for little children, it is also for older ones. And Sheila is going to read it for us. It's called The Fruits of Heaven.
The Fruits of Heaven. There was once a woman who had heard of the fruit of heaven. She coveted it. She asked a certain dervish, whom we should call Sabah, "How can I find this fruit, so that I may attain to immediate knowledge?" "You would be best advised to study with me," said the dervish. "But if you will not do so, you will have to travel resolutely and at times relentlessly throughout the world." She left him and sought another, Arif the wise one, and then found Hakim the sage, then Majub the mad, and then Alim the scientist, and many more. She passed 30 years in her search. Finally, she came to a garden. There stood the tree of heaven, and from its branches hung the bright fruit of heaven. Standing beside the tree was Sabah, the first dervish. "Why did you not tell me when we first met that you were the custodian of the fruit of heaven?" she asked him. "Because you would not then have believed me. Besides, the tree produces fruit only once in 30 years and 30 days.
It's a nice story, actually. Right, so now we have another reading that Viv is going to read to us, summing up the Christian narrative about women as briefly as we can, of course, and as fairly as we can. Come on, Ben. You're a tall lady, so you cannot.
Okay. Tall lady, but difficult on the eyesight. God created both men and women in his own image and made them equal custodians of all his creation. But because of their disobedience, God punished Adam and Eve, evicted them from the Garden of Eden. Eve's punishment was to suffer pain in childbirth and be ruled over by her husband. Jesus broke with tradition and treated women in a much more egalitarian way than was normal in the society of that time. The early Christian churches followed Jesus' lead and gave women much higher status and more privileges than was common in the rest of the world. However, Paul and other Christian leaders continued to affirm the principle of a husband's family leadership and his authority over his wife. Christians disagree over whether this principle should apply in the modern world. Is the man's authority over his wife and family a great spiritual principle decreed by God for all time? Or is it, like the Bible's teachings about slavery, just a reflection of the realities of biblical era culture? Today, many Christians believe women should enjoy all the same rights and privileges as men. Other Christians, however, continue to advocate a secondary role for women based on Genesis 3:16 and other Bible passages.
Thank you for reading it so beautifully. And now we go to a second reading, which is on women who dream. The first hymn that we sang talked about dreams. So it's from this book. We sometimes use a hard copy of the book because everything is electronic these days. So there, let's go traditional for one moment. So this is on Women Who Dream, is on page 113 of this book. I will read it out. By L. Annie Forster, for praying out loud interfaith prayers for public occasions. And here it goes. Obviously, I have edited out the public occasion because we're not in the United States, so I'll tell you all the secrets that you are. So, on Women Who Dream. Spirit of life, in whose image we are both male and female, we pause to give thanks. For we have been given many blessings and we have come very far. We think especially of our mothers and grandmothers and their mothers and grandmothers, whose yearning stretched forward into this, our time. In their best hopes for us, women who stitched and cooked and cleaned, who chastised and challenged their sons and daughters alike, sowing the seeds of equality at the heart side of their homes. Women who dreamed of a future when life would be easier, the gifts of life more fully available to all who live, and who taught their children that it could be for all. For all our foremothers, O God, who brought us to this celebration, we are grateful. We give thanks for the women who donned their white dresses and green ribbons and gathered themselves together to give voice to their yearnings, for the vote, for the freedom to participate in a larger life and accept responsibility for the course of human destiny alongside men. We remember their courage in the face of hostility, their dignity in the face of humiliation, and their tenacity in the face of discouragement. For all their gifts to us, we are grateful. We give thanks, O God, for the men who listened to the women's hopes, who shared power, who honored your larger truth, and who enlarged their lives in the process. For we all have been blessed. O thou who continues to call us to be better than we are, our prayer is that we might carry forward the gifts of equality with honor and courage, now and in the days to come, for there is much, much more to be done. Bless now the deliberations of this day and the men and women of this council as they guide our city forward into the future. This is our prayer. Amen. So be it. And now it is time to sing again, but this will be a video clip of hymn 73. I was determined to get it into the service because it says, if every woman in the world. So it is in the purple book, but it will appear as a video clip. So if you wish to remain seated, that's fine. If you wish to stand and sing, that's also fine. I will leave it entirely up to you. The words are in the purple book, 7.3, and I will come around and distribute some purple books. It's a nice one. So thank you for doing your very best. And I try to do mine as well. Right, so let's now have a reflective address. This service is ideally a bit shortened because we have some things to do, I think, in the last 20 minutes. It'll be a first for me to do a service that is shorter than an hour. So, reflective address is about the female dimension in religions. So, the story of the sacred feminine is woven through the spiritual histories of paganism, Judaism, and Christianity, just to choose three traditions often imagined in stark contrast, yet bound by a shared human yearning to understand divinity through both masculine and feminine expression. Reflecting on their trajectories reveals not only theological shifts, but also changing cultural attitudes towards women, embodiment, and the natural world. So let's see now a little bit about each of these three traditions. In pagan traditions, the female dimension is expansive and central. Ancient polytheistic religions across Europe, the Near East, and the Mediterranean cultivated a spiritual landscape alive with goddesses who presided over fertility, war, wisdom, sexuality, protection, and the turning of seasons. The female divine was not confined to nurturing roles alone. Instead, she appeared in a plurality of forms: Artemis, the huntress; Isis, the healer; Brigid, the poet; Kali, the destroyer. This diversity signaled an understanding of womanhood as multifaceted, powerful, and embedded in nature's cycles. Moreover, the female dimension in paganism carried an embodied quality. Rituals tied to agriculture, birth, and lunar phases connected women's experiences with cosmic patterns. The goddess, in many cultures, symbolized the mystery of life itself. The fertile earth, the rhythmic moon, the dark womb of transformation. Paganism, therefore, offered a worldview in which female power was not derivative but intrinsic, a sacred principle in its own right. While patriarchal structures certainly existed in many pagan societies, the symbolic elevation of goddesses provided spiritual affirmation of the feminine as creative, wise, and formidable. Let's move now to Judaism. The emergence of Judaism shifted this landscape. As a monotheistic religion, it centralized divine identity into a singular, transcendent God, often described in masculine terms. Even though, to be fair, the very first word in the Bible in Hebrew is in the plural, so it says gods, but anyway. This move narrowed the symbolic space for explicitly feminine divine imagery, yet did not erase it entirely. Traces of the sacred feminine survive within Jewish texts and mystical traditions. Figures such as wisdom, or chokhmah in Hebrew, and the Shekinah, the indwelling presence of God, carry deep feminine resonance. The Shekinah, in particular, embodies nearness, compassion, and protection, accompanying the Jewish people in exile and sanctifying the spaces where they dwell. So very similar to, the ancient Greek, the Olympus gods traditions in that way. Still, the explicit worship of goddesses faded as Judaism established a theological boundary between itself and the polytheistic cultures which surrounded it. This transition often reflected a desire for ethical monotheism rather than hostility towards femininity itself. Yet, its effect was the diminishing of divine female imagery in the mainstream practice. At the same time, the lived reality of women in Judaism remained complex and varied. Women held crucial roles in home-centered ritual life, lighting Shabbat candles 18 minutes before the sunset on Friday, preparing for holidays, passing on language and tradition, while rabbinic law limited women's participation in certain public religious acts, it also recognized their spiritual influence in shaping the household as a center of holiness. Thus, the feminine, though less visible in the divine, remained an essential vessel for covenant and continuity. And just to add, as we saw in one of the quotes earlier in the service, in Jewish families as well, if there is a very, very poor family, priority will be given to educating the girl, because it is, of course, to pass on the traditions and to continue. So it's interesting. Ideally, of course, everybody is educated. Let's move on to Christianity. With the rise of Christianity, the female dimension took on new forms. Christianity inherited Judaism's monotheistic framework, yet reintroduced a powerful feminine presence through Mary, the mother of Jesus. Though not divine in Christian doctrine, Mary's symbolic status quickly expanded. She became Theotokos in Greek, the God-bearer, an image which blends humility with cosmic significance. Across centuries, Mary grew into one of the most venerated figures in Christian devotion. Compassionate mother, intercessor, Queen of Heaven, and icon of faithful surrender. Her presence offered a spiritual counterpart to the male identities of father and son, providing millions of believers with a maternal connection to the sacred. And many others, of course, go a lot further than that. They say that she had insights and she could see, of course, things concealed and all of that. We obviously cannot discuss everything. Yet Christianity also carried tensions around the female body and sexuality, shaped by early theological debates and cultural attitudes inherited from the Greco-Roman society. Women's roles in leadership became restricted, even as female saints, mystics, and monastics emerged as some of the most influential voices in Christian spirituality. For example, figures like Hildegard of Bingen, Teresa of Avila, and Julian of Norwich, just to mention three, expressed profound theological insights, often drawing on embodied, relational, and visionary aspects of faith. So, embodied, relational, and visionary aspects of faith that echoed ancient expressions of the sacred feminine, like in the Assyrian culture, for example. Across these traditions, the female dimension has moved from central to multifaceted, to veiled yet enduring, to symbolically powerful but institutionally constrained. Still, it persists in the pagan goddess who embodies nature's cycles, in the Shekinah who dwells with the exiled, in Mary who receives and bears divine mystery, and in the countless women whose lives have carried spiritual traditions forward. To reflect on the female dimension in paganism, Judaism, and Christianity is to recognize that the sacred cannot be contained in any single gendered image. Rather, the feminine in these traditions and many others reveals a deeper truth, that the divine meets humanity in forms both tender and fierce, embodied and transcendent, ancient and ever renewing. And with these thoughts in mind, we are moving to what I think is a nice piece of music by Francis Poulenc, Villanelle, and it's about 2 minutes and a bit for us to collect our thoughts and reflect on anything that we wish to reflect. hope you enjoyed it. And as I usually do, I will read an offering prayer for obviously the contributions after the service. This church is sustained by what we're able to bring to it, our time and our energy, our love and our resources. This morning's collection will be gratefully received immediately after the service to support the work of this wonderful congregation. And now we come to a prayer for women. Everything's about women today. So, by Beth McLendon. The genders are not mine, they're obviously hers. So. God smiles with love as he thinks of you. Capital, every letter. You are unique in God's kingdom. There is no one like you. No one has the talents, skills, and abilities that you have. No one has the experience that you have. No one can do the things that you can do. No one can achieve the destiny that God has for your life except you. And no one can replace you in God's heart. No one could ever be so special to God that God wouldn't still yearn for your company. You are incredibly important to God. You are adorable and treasured in God's sight. God loves you just the way you are. God thinks you are awesome, yet God is eager to help you become even more joyful, more contented, more mature, and more blessed. You're uniquely qualified and prepared for each day because God is living in you and you're living inside God's love. And now we sing again our last hymn, which is number 146, Speaking Truth in Love. And again, and you may be seated. And now I have some meditation, which usually we do earlier in the service, but I thought this is the best moment for this service. Very short one, inspired from Buddhism. Sit with breath and let the mind grow still. Reflect with gratitude on the women who sustain life with wisdom, patience, and quiet courage. See them not as roles or expectations, but as living beings walking the same path towards freedom. Contemplate their joys and sorrows, their strength and vulnerability, and recognize these within yourself. Let compassion arise for all women, for those who are honored and those overlooked, for those who suffer and those who guide others with clarity. Hold them in boundless loving kindness, wishing, may all women be safe, peaceful, and free from suffering. And now we come to a time of poetry, and I will invite Anne to come and read Mirror by Sylvia Plath.
Mirror. I am silver and exact. I have no preconceptions. Whatever you see, I swallow immediately, just as it is, unmisted by love or dislike. I am not cruel, only truthful, the eye of a little god, four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall. It is pink with speckles. I have looked at it so long, I think it is a part of my heart, but it flickers. Faces and darkness separate us over and over. Now I am a lake. A woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. I am important to her. She comes and goes. Each morning it is her face that replaces the darkness. In me she has drowned a young girl, and in me an old woman rises towards her day after day, like a terrible fish.
Well, we need to look at that side as well, that's why. So not everything is as pleasant as exactly. So now we have some closing words, and then to be followed by music I will explain and announcements. So the closing words first. We are blessed with an abundance of good things for which we are truly thankful as long as we remember them. We are privileged with great freedom and power, for which in return we act with responsibility. We are lucky to have shared this time and space together because we are lucky to have each other. May the spirit of this place and these friends go with us into the busy city.